And boop. And hi, we're live. It's us. Hi. It is. Welcome to Critical ReRoll, the totally not a mess critters podcast by critters for critters. This is episode 97 of Critical ReRoll. We are covering episode 21 of Critical Role. I am one of your hosts, Jess, and though I am vegetarian in real life, I have recently become obsessed with what monsters in D&D might be edible.
And I'm another host. My name is Hercules, and I believe Disney made a movie about me at some point.
And I am your third host for today. I am Cate, and I wholeheartedly believe that villains deserve love too.
And I will say, Jess, before we get started into anything, in my local game that I've been playing for many years now, our barbarian paladin insists on skinning and making jerky out of everything we kill.
Really?
Yeah, the most horrifying was when he rolled like a 4 to make like manticore jerky and insists on giving it to everybody, and it's really funny.
I love it. I love it. Do you make them do like constitution checks to see if any of the
Yeah.
Okay. That's exactly
always
my
passes.
concern.
She always passes because she's got ridiculous constitution, so she thinks it's fine. She's like, it doesn't taste great, it's fine, and everyone else just vomits.
I love it. I'm so excited. Okay, so last episode, they headed over to Barrel Bend. They made it all the way to Lavinda Swamps, where we met most important new friend, Burb friend, Kiri. This episode, we met most important half-dragon friend, Cali. And they headed back into the swamps. Cate, what were you excited about this week?
First and foremost, what everyone is talking about, the cartoon.
Wah.
And I know everyone in chat was kind of typing it out before we got here.
Already seen.
Went live, but yeah, total 80s vibe cartoon. Reminded me so much of Captain Planet and all of the, like Thundercats, all of it.
Mhm.
I just was in love. I want that over and over again and in longer format in my life all day, all long.
Mm-hmm.
I must have watched it like a dozen times at least so far, and that's like me choosing to watch it, not just it being thrown in my face on Critical Role and during the stream of many eyes. I can't get enough, and it's really bad. And that's really the only thing that I'm excited about.
So, Kate, you also wanted to touch on Cali and Necromancy.
Yes.
I'm going to leave those up to you when we get to them, because you have much more
Yeah.
knowledge of dragon people, and I want to hear your thoughts and theories. But also, the main things I was like, well, there were multiple Ford events, and everyone knows I'm a bit obsessed with, like, Ford. Like, Ford, tell us your story. The second they mentioned Port Damali and he made a face, I literally was like, if I knew how to GIF, I would GIF right now. The fact that we dealt with a bull this time, but that was apparently one of 6 parts. That's something to touch on. I was a little obsessed with the talk of the tattoos and thinking that they sound a bit like merit badges. Ashley, feeling Ashley this episode when she was on Ford's case, when she was on Travis wanting to like, what's the other half, Ford? And then the fact that we had marrows in the, I think they were marrows, which are a variant of merfolk in the swamp, so are these swamp marrows, and then the fact that Ford's patron wants him to learn something. What does he want him to learn? But first, backwards to the beginning. Start at the beginning. My first thought also was Captain Planet with that opening. I was like, Captain Planet!
Yeah.
But then, you know which one made me think of? Specifically X-Men, the way they do each of the characters, and they do the side scroll. They're like, this
90s X-Men.
Yeah. Yep.
They're flying into yeah. Oh, totally.
Do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
Loved it so much. So much. And I know they played it a billion times on the stream of many eyes too,
I
so
know.
I had no idea what to expect when Sam announced that there was going to be like
Yeah.
a special thing. We're like, oh my god, what could that be? Is that like a con announcement? Is that like
Yeah.
some merch
Yeah.
or
Something
you know,
happened.
are they what are they doing? And oh my god, it was better than I ever could have imagined.
Watching their faces at the end when they came back to it, it was incredible. Just the pure joy that was on
Marisha
them.
was literally crying. And
Yeah.
I was pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was going to be like, oh, it's going to be some piece of merch I can't buy. But no, it was a gift for all!
And rewatching it, I know everyone was kind of doing like almost frame by frame to see what the creators put in there. And I know Abernathy found the original like box art in a picture
Yes.
that was on the
wall.
wall, and like they put a lot of detail into it. It was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I wish I could have spent more time, you know, investigating the folks that made it. But I don't know how long they actually worked on it. It obviously wasn't that long since it's only been maybe a handful of weeks since that was originally come up. But wow, it's insane.
Agreed.
I know I started following them. I'm trying to find it on Twitter super quick, but
To like, yeah, if you find them, call them out. But starting at the beginning, I like that we were introduced to our new friend Cali, and her first view of them was a cat butt. It was literally like cat butt waiting for her. Not that like a cat would mind sharing its butt like that. That's what they do. That's
Yeah, they kind of don't care. Yeah, that was a really funny introduction. I love Mark, and I was really excited for him to come on, and that's the perfect way for the Mighty Nine to welcome a guest.
so it looks like the Twitter for the cartoon creators, just going back to that really quick, it's at Carecaro, Karekareo.
and that's the animators?
Yes.
Have you seen anything, or if they've mentioned, you know, anything about how long it took, or anything
I
like
didn't
that, like how the process was?
see anything about that. I know they've been posting up a couple things here and there, but I have not seen anything specifically. They posted up like the characters, the main warlock girl, her character
Yes, I
sheet,
saw that
so
part.
you could see that.
That's cool.
That's very cool.
But I don't think they have said too much yet about. I think they said 3 months, maybe. They said they had the song in their head for 3 months, but I don't know how long
Wow.
actually the animating took. But so yeah, back to Cali.
Yes. What did
And I love,
Yeah.
I love that they ran to the table too, like pure saving seats. Let me put my stick down here across it. 'Cause I just did that the other day with an umbrella. So
Mine.
nope, this is ours. Can't have it. Go away.
The mighty mine.
Is this probably one of the quickest ways they've introduced a guest?
That's
too?
I was thinking that too. I wonder if they were like, hey, we gotta like, because there's been so many times where they meant to get. I feel like they meant to get a guest in sooner, and the guest doesn't get in for like half an episode. But
And you can't really
Yeah.
do it with an international guest.
Yeah.
Like they're on a little bit more of a tight schedule.
I think the difference here is that Mark has probably been planned to be on for a while because the
Yeah.
Stream of Many Eyes was planned a long
That's
time
true.
ago. So like, okay, well, you're gonna be here. We need you on.
Mhm.
You know, clearly he's awesome and friends with them. So like, I feel like the other guests may have been more kind of last minute things or maybe a week or two ahead of time. So it's hard to like navigate the story there.
makes sense. I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. And they were at a good point to introduce a character. They were at like an inn. You know what I mean? It's a perfect point to like.
Right.
Like whereas if you're already like out doing stuff, it's a little more difficult. So that was pretty good. Ook brought up what you wanted to say, Cate. Do you want to
Let's get right into it.
go?
All right. Well, real quick though, I have to say, I was 100% convinced that she was going to turn out evil and
Yes!
just flat out turn on them, and Dustin was right. She was.
Yeah, well,
But-
because you and I and Dustin were all in the same chat, and I remember like you were like, she's evil, and then she was so sweet and so nice that I was like, I agree with Cate, she's evil, and then Dustin was like, just to disagree with you guys, she's a good guy. Dustin wins. Damn
Yeah,
it.
I had so much faith in
Did
her,
you?
and I was
Well,
right.
I think
Oh yeah.
more for me, it stemmed from the fact that it was Mark playing her and that it was another DM, so that if Mercer was going to trust anyone to pull off something like that, it was going to be someone like a Mark Cuban or a Chris Perkins or one of those type of guests that he was going to lean on to throw in some treachery there.
Yeah, see, I think
it would.
Go ahead.
I actually think the opposite, where because Marcus is such a great GM, he would not want to throw that much of a wrench into this game. I think he would just want to be a nice, likable character that helps the party and, leaves and makes things good.
I think for me, it was a mix of things. Like, one, we haven't had any visitors be, like, evil yet, and I'm convinced that someone's going to want to come in and be evil.
Right.
And then the other part was that when we first met her, before we saw anything of her, she was so sweet and so kind. I was like, there's no way, like, this super kind person isn't evil. But then the second she was revealed as, like, half dragon with scales, I was like, no, I want her to be a good character now, because I never want someone,
because black dragon.
Yeah, I never want someone that appears evil, that people are going to treat them evil. I would never want that person to actually have to fall within those guidelines, within that stereotype.
Yeah.
What I see, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, we haven't had many guests on this new one, but Archon is probably evil.
There's a difference, I think, between being evil and being antagonistic towards the team.
True.
Yeah.
So
Archon, even though he was evil, he was, for all intents and purposes, on their side to complete.
Kind of.
Well, to a point.
Yes. They had separate end goals, but he was there for the same purpose, to take down Vecna.
Yeah.
But we have not seen someone come in and be purposefully against them.
Exactly.
True.
Exactly. And we had oh my gosh, I'm not going to remember his name, the musician character who was part of the he was
Garthok?
Yes, Garthok. He was technically part of an evil organization, and by the end he was separate from them and kind of against, but he was never, like, outright evil or outright, like, horrible to them. He worked with them as long as it was necessary. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's a Jason Charles Miller. Thank you. And he was part of the class. But thank you so much, Ook. But yeah, like, I feel like that's one of him and Archon are two of the closest, and even then they were never, like, completely antagonistic. They were never completely evil to the party. They were never completely, like, you know what I mean? So I'm still waiting for it.
I think kind of everyone is, which is why it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever happen. I don't think that would make a good show when it's like 6 or 7 against 1.
I guess that's true. You're right.
Yeah. Because, like, at that point, like, Matt would also probably need to work with them a lot, because they would probably be, they'd probably just be playing, like, an evil NPC in Matt's world. Like, he would just have another GM play a character that he already built or something like that. Or, like playing a boss or something like that, which would... I don't think that would really work for the purposes of the show.
I think you're right. I think that makes...
Yeah.
You're probably right, but I'm still just like, ugh. I kind of want it, kind of like, I'm just a brat.
It happens. All right, so back to the topic of Kaliana and her ancestry. I had thrown a tweet out into the void, basically yelling, screaming, I want to know who she's descended from. Which black dragon is it? Who gave her that ancestry? She is now 1/10 dragon, black dragon. And I threw that out into the Twitter sphere. Our good friend Christina then tagged Mark Humes in it, and his response was, well, that's an interesting question. Only thing I will say is an ancient black dragon from far away. Which is what he said on the show. And he said it multiple times, I feel. Like, he at least said it twice. And I was hoping the cast was going to start poking at that, but they didn't. Because, let's be for real, everyone seems to be on the boat that it was Umbersil. Somehow, some way. Not everyone, but a lot of people are speculating that it was Umbersil.
Yeah, well, the characters don't know anything about black dragons or Umbersil, so it wouldn't be natural for them to ask who. They're just like, oh, it's a dragon. Like, none of them have ever seen dragons. Like, they don't know anything about dragons. So it makes sense that they probably wouldn't, like, drill him themselves.
I was expecting it more from the players than the characters.
Yeah.
Try and find a way, be like, oh, wait, pokes back to the original campaign.
Mhm.
Yeah. What percentage dragon is she again?
She said 1/10,
Yeah.
which I think
Okay.
means great grandparent.
Yeah.
That evens out to.
Lumbercell's ancient, so
Right.
at like 1,000 years old ish. So that leaves plenty of time for something like that to happen.
Yeah. Somebody did pose a follow-up question about, what's the demographics of black dragons in the world of Exandria, but did not get an answer. So that is still information to be discovered in the future. But yeah, hopefully. We will see.
Yep.
But yeah, I was super excited about a dragon sorcerer.
Mhm.
Dragon lineage sorcerer.
I had never seen, being new to D&D, as I was only introduced to it because of Critical Role, I had never seen a non-dragonborn draconic ancestry sorcerer, so I liked seeing this version. I imagine people have done it before, but to me it was the first time I had seen it, so like seeing that not just dragonborn draconic sorcerer was already like...
Yeah, I really like how much he leaned into it, because I feel like people's natural inclination is to not lean into that too much, and sometimes it's hard to really make your sorcerer's origin like shown and have it affect your personality and like your character, which I think is really important for sorcerers, because they can kind of just be left alone as like they're like wizards but not really, and it's really hard for some people to understand what sorcerers are. And the way you do that is to really lean into their sorcerer's origin, like he did with Cali. I think it really shows like what a sorcerer is, and I really liked how like he even played her that way when she kind of had her like tick about not like letting things be stolen from her, and she like snapped at them really quickly. And that was really
she
neat.
got a little bit of possessive of the horde, like she's like, mine.
My little dragon heart fluttered.
Aww.
My sister.
Someone said, King Sadu in chat said, let's have Kelly spit into a tube and send it to draconicancestry.com, which I loved.
Destroy the tube. It's acid.
Oh, fair. It would have to be like a particular material. That's pretty funny.
But she looked half elven.
Yeah, which was cool.
Yeah. The race on the card says half elf, so she's mostly half elf, but partially somewhere.
Yeah.
Draconic.
Yeah, everyone in chat is agreeing with you guys that like half elf and 1/10 draconic. So
do you want?
Well, from meeting her, she
also on her with that, we did find out that she was, I believe, was using Matt's recovered cultist background.
Oh, I didn't know that.
From his Tale Glory campaign. Or campaign guide. I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but
that would make sense.
It would make sense, I think.
I would love. Did anyone message him and like tag and ask?
No.
That's a good question. Or if we can ask in like talks, because obviously that's the sort of thing we can't confirm here. We can only speculate. But
I mean, unless she did something.
Did she do? Yeah, what?
That really shows, but I'm not familiar with it. I'm
not
like,
familiar with it
it
either,
right now,
and I don't have my book handy, so I can't check.
Yeah, I have it. It just kind of talks about you once belonged to a cult, and you may have felt alone and lost, and the community offered a welcome to you, or whatever, and gave you kind of ideas on how you got initiated into the cult, and then you decided, nah,
not for me.
Something happened and caused you to go running. So it kind of fits really nicely with the story that they crafted up for her.
Yeah.
Well, no. So it makes sense, because the feature Wicked Awareness says your time worshiping in secrecy and shadow at the altar of malevolent forces has left you with insight and keen awareness to those who still operate in such ways. You can often spot hidden signs, messages, and signals left in populated places. If actively seeking signs of a cult or dark following, you have an easier time locating and decoding the signs. So she was really adamant about how she was very sure that this is where they were, but never explained how, and that makes a lot of sense.
That does make a lot of sense. Good catch.
Yeah.
And good job fitting that in there. I really like that. I really love the idea that Mark and Matt would have worked together to like make this character that's so like it's touching on a little bit of everything. It's so cool.
Mhm. Do you then want to talk about the cult?
Well, I was gonna mention that the first thing she mentions, well, Bo makes fun of her for being too complimentary, and it's apparently making Bo nauseous. But then Cali brings up that she was born in Port de Mali, and that's when we get like the Travis like, oh, and then even like it's even better when it's so good when Travis makes a face, but when Laura immediately turns and looks at Travis. And you see that like double reaction, and he's like, "Don't," you know what I mean? He's making a face like, "Don't look at me, don't give this away for me, and don't call me out."
They did that reaction again too when Matt made the face later on with the spell with the speak to dead, and Matt did like the zombie face over there, screamed and like freaked out, and then Travis was looking at her. And they play off each other so
They're
well.
so cute. Oh my god, it's so funny. But yeah, that was just the first like the first point at which, and I was wondering if like that was Travis Ford sort of like continued to push the conversation towards Callie's cult background, like you sort of just mentioned, and I was wondering if that was Travis trying to steer the conversation against anyone asking him about like, hey, aren't you from Port de Mali? Because that did not come up. You could see the players were thinking it, but none of the characters had a chance to say it. So like I was wondering if he was intentionally steering the conversation away. But yeah, you're right, they talk about the cult. And I'm not sure, I don't think it's actually till later, but I'm gonna jump ahead and connect it, because later on Jester talks to Cali about it, and Cali says that the bull, she's looking for a bull. It's a draconic bull. She doesn't give too much information on it at that point, but later, a little bit later, we find out it's one of 6 pieces she's looking for. So that gives us so much opportunity to come back to this storyline and this character and the possibility of like, is Tiamat, or this cult of Tiamat, which we later on found out was called the Cult of the Caustic Heart, like, is that going to be an ongoing thing? Are we going to get to connect with this? Is this going to be another background story for them to make bigger if they so choose, or ignore if they so choose?
Yeah, and I wonder if it's gonna be like a big player later on down the line, because it's something that they probably can't focus too much effort on right now, but maybe in the future, if they're successful at doing a lot of stuff, that's potentially there. Of course, it's really hard to get Cali back on to the show, so we probably won't be seeing her that often. But Mark has mentioned already that he's already planning letters for Jester and whatnot.
Yes, which is such a
which
fun.
Is so cute.
Yeah,
and chat is bringing up that even if, you know, I'm kind of bouncing off this, even if it's not a direct connection to Callie's story, it is connecting. This is yet another of the betrayer gods that has been mentioned. And that could it be something, you know, that after Vecna, something has been stirred up in these ancient forces that are now either a worship is coming about a little bit more for them, or are they influencing something somehow? So that could be a really interesting tie.
And Uncle Luke also pointed out that like we've seen some connection to, I'm not gonna pronounce it properly, Yingu, the Crawling King, and now Tiamat, with the Drow in Xhorhas. That's ties possibly to Loth. So we have a lot of like what you mentioned, like a lot of opportunity to see the Betrayer gods, a lot of later game possible story options with like,
and
go ahead.
I believe Xhorhas is actually heavily connected to the Betrayer gods in general. Let me find what it said about that.
Yeah, Uncle Ook said that divine gate is coming down. I like that idea also, because we also like is the connection, because in theory the connection should have been re-solidified after they did everything they did as Vox Machina, obviously not as Mighty Nine, but also we have Jester, whose patron seems to be very connected to gates being opened and traveling and such.
So, in the Tal'Dorei guide, it talks about across the eastern borders of the Dwendalian Empire lay the lands of Xhorhas, a smaller empire built on the ruins of Gordranus, the ancient city of the Betrayer gods.
Yeah. So you're right. Like I think this is a good area for. I mean, we have to wait and see, but this is a good area. Things are pointing in that direction, and it's all very exciting. I like it. I am excited. So heading back to our group, after they're done talking, and they head into the swamp with their extremely pervy guide, who is for Brad.
Mr. Creepy Pervert Man.
I resent that. Do you? We have, they find some bodies.
They do.
Cate.
They do find some bodies. Something that poked me as very interesting. Jester goes and casts Speak with Dead, which the immediate reaction from Fabron was, that's necromancy shit. And as we have found out since the previous campaign, the Briarwoods, who were from the Dwendalian Empire, were chased down because of their connections with necromancy. Does this mean that certain spells, if used within the public view of the guards, view of city officials, such as Speak with Dead, such as oh god, I don't even remember any of the necromantic ones off the top of my head, inflict wounds, would something like that be cause of penalty? Could they get arrested? Could they get, worse for using necromantic spells?
Well,
that's an interesting point. So Cali also has vampiric touch.
Yeah.
But she's from Port de Mali, so maybe it's a little different there. Yeah, I mean, that's a real possibility. I don't know if like any necromantic spells would necessarily be a huge deal, but something like that when it involves actually reviving a dead creature and animate it in some way, that's definitely frowned upon. I would think. Yeah,
aren't they they're kind of picky about their magics to begin with? Like that's something like they have, you can only follow these gods and magic should be controlled type situation. So I could see them being particularly unhappy with necromantic. But yeah, you're right. Like that Fabron's reaction was showing sort of that social. I mean, generally necromantic is not beloved. In any realm, but yeah, particularly so perhaps in this area, I could see that being maybe the case. Maybe like I could see what you're getting at there.
Yeah, I think it leaves some really interesting paths open for Matt to play with.
Yeah. Like Jester's gonna do what Jester's gonna do.
Clearly.
So I could,
and we love her for that.
So as if she doesn't already get in trouble for handing out pamphlets and such, the Met has every opportunity to also arrest her and send her to jail for getting caught doing necromancy. Well, there's necromancy and there's necromancy, says Neverwinter Pool. Delilah practiced the later. Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
One leads to the other, though, in their minds, I would say.
And then there's necromantic candle making, King Sendu. Very nice.
Gateway necromantic spells.
Yeah, I think like we were saying, like generally necromantic spells are not beloved anywhere, but there are certain ones I could see people like not poo-pooing too much. But like you're saying, if it's particularly there's a huge social stigma against it because of the realm, because of the kingdom, then I could see that being a problem later.
I'm really excited to see if this goes anywhere.
Their reaction to when Jester brought back the body.
Well, Matt That is just amazing.
I'm so glad so many people clipped it. I was like, this is another moment. If I knew how to GIF, I would GIF. But then a billion people did it, so I was like, good, it's done.
I love the way, the way Jester cast that spell.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good.
Very similar to how Maya, poor little cleric who has no idea what she's doing in Barovia, cast her first speak with dead, apologizing profusely to the corpse before doing so.
Yeah, she was being very polite. She was like, oh, please, can we, and then she even when they were like, what's the last question we want to ask it? She's like, well, we could ask it about its life and its past and its history.
Yeah. What is its childhood like?
And then they just start fighting immediately.
Yeah, they didn't even get to ask that run right away because Fabron got picked off by the troll. Which,
was this the first time they really, really faced the possibility of a PC dying?
I mean, Knott's come close.
Yeah, and didn't Molly come close once early game too? I feel like in the early game we saw them. People were getting knocked out constantly.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, we could bypass most of this, but we didn't really talk about this earlier. There's a lot of contention about the whole Caleb and Bo thing, and Bo legitimately almost dying with Liam's decision. And, yeah, Matt mentioned, like, immediately, like, he was so afraid that Liam was just going to do that. And, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I was sitting here doing the same thing, like, Bo's dead. Like, just thinking that Bo is dead as soon as Liam said that. What do you think about that? Do you think like he was just trying to really be in character, or like just not really thinking about what's going on?
I think he was, in my opinion, I don't think he saw it as he almost like in the heat of the moment while battling. I think he thought he could hit the troll in such a way so as not to insta kill Bo, but obviously like Matt knew otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think he mentioned specifically aiming for the head.
Yeah, I think he was trying.
I think that, like, yeah.
I agree. I don't think it was his intention. I think obviously, had he known, like, had it clicked. So, I mean, like, sometimes you're in the heat of the moment, and you're not cluing into, like, a specific thing. You're just like, oh, no, I gotta rescue my friend. I gotta hit it. You're not thinking, like, oh, right, it's gonna spew acid on her already unconscious corpse, therefore insta-deathing her, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was very obvious because that's exactly what happened to Fabron, so it's not like it was really that much of a surprise. I guess maybe he just wasn't really paying enough attention. But... yeah, I thought maybe it was more of like that's the choice that Caleb probably would have made. It was like an in-character thing. And then maybe after he realized and took it back, like, okay, I probably shouldn't just kill Bo because that's what Caleb would do. But
yeah.
Do you think, okay, in character, do you think Caleb would not mind if Bo died?
no, I think he would just be so focused on killing the creature that he doesn't pay attention to everything else that's going on around him.
Yeah.
That he's just focused on doing his spell and looking at his target, and that's it.
Yeah. I think that's all it was too. Like, I think it was just, but I think Liam as a person was. I think Matt in chat said Liam was so focused on his own turn that he missed, sort of that fact that the troll was hitting the troll was causing damage to those being carried by the troll. And I think that's like, I know as when I played my first spellcaster for the first time, I was so involved with like looking at my spells and trying to figure out which spell is the right spell that sometimes I would miss stuff that happened in other people's turns. And I think that easily happens when you're like, when you have so many spells. Do you know what I mean? You get distracted. I don't. Yeah. That's all I think it was.
Yeah. The funny thing is, like, any other spell probably would have been fine. Anything that hits once probably would have been fine because she would have taken one hit and then probably still been okay. But he chose the only two spells that hits multiple times. Like, okay, not Scorching Ray. All right, then Magic Missile.
Yeah.
Which theoretically is worse because it auto hits.
Yeah,
but
that's true. Just imagine it like each little thing popping another boil on the troll and just like releasing.
Just doing a little bit of damage and then just doing more
just
to
like
both.
Boop, boop, boop. Just, yep.
But yeah.
Speaking of dead bodies. So I'm gonna bring it back to this is the segue I have chosen. Necromancy, dead bodies, character near deaths. Speaking of all things,
Is that our episode title? The one with the dead
the
bodies?
one with all the dead bodies. Yep, that's the one. That's an accurate description of this episode, I think.
Yeah.
But I love while they were investigating, while they were looking for the safe house and they're investigating all the bodies. Matt was describing the tattoos, and as they were seeing these bodies that were clearly, some of the gentleman's posse, as they had seen at the gentleman's place of work, these tattoos with things they'd consistently seen, and images that seemed to indicate sort of things these people had accomplished, or perhaps were their responsibilities or jobs. And I can't help but imagine these tattoos like Girl Guide merit badges, as you got your you helped an elderly person across the street tattoo. You
killed an elderly person.
Yeah, that's actually much more accurate, isn't it?
For us Americans, those are called Girl Scouts.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, Canada, they're Girl Guides.
But they do the same thing like within Game of Thrones with the Maesters, sorry, who are the really smart people. I forget what their actual term is. They get the links on their chain for everything that they learn. If once you master this subject, you get another one and another one. But I kind of like that whole idea with doing it with the tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or they might just be linked to different, like groups or clans or whatever. Like that shows that you're cool with these people, and then once you prove yourself to another one, like okay, you're cool with these people.
I like that.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. So, which groups is Molly cool with?
I think
the
all
pheasants?
Molly's are his own. Molly's cool with himself.
These are all just me. These are all just different versions of me.
No one's cool with me. None of you have these tattoos.
Mine are all originals.
He got his all the tattoos were post waking up, correct?
Were they? I thought they were.
He said most of them.
Well, he said he woke up and he had the eyes on him, which he then
surrounded around,
blended into the tattoos.
Right.
But I don't think he did. I don't think he said that all of the tattoos were after that, but the ones that are specifically related to those are.
I just like the tattoo merit badges, and I'm just like, what are Molly's? Like you said,
mob tattoos.
Yeah, mob tattoos. Now I want to think of like what I want to play a game of like what tattoo you would get for I don't know, killing someone with acid. You got your acid splash tattoo. Good job. Like this is the new game, guys.
Is that just like an evil adventurers wanted?
I would not put that against Christina because of what happened last game, but we're not talking about that because she's driving me insane.
Yeah. So we go on, they get through, they find the safe house, they go down, Caleb just throws Frumpkin down the hole, which, like, I get it, but also Caleb!
Frumpkin goes down the hole.
Yes. And then once they all get down there, that's when they decide to have a very important conversation. Once they're down there with the bad guys, that's when they're like, let's have this very important background. And they start questioning Ford. They're like, aren't you part fish person? Can't you go talk to them? And he's like, no, what are you talking about? And then this is one of the moments when I have most felt connected to Ashley, because she was like, yeah, but what's the other half? What's the other half, Ford? And I was like, yes, Ashley, grill him. Grill his half fish half. But
I'm still on the boat of he's just a half human. I'm sorry, Jess.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I totally get it. Like, at this point, I have to get more and more off it, but I'm still like, I just want to hold on to it for the nostalgia's sake of it was one of my first thoughts in this campaign. It was one of my first, like, questions, like, what is Ford? Like, what is he really?
Cali asked if he was half dragon, too.
Yeah.
If he was part dragon.
And she also asked if he was some sort of a Ford fusion. Which thank you for that one, Mark. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm not sure if it was. I think it was Mark. I have the note that Sam said half orc, half carp. A carp. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
And then Mark was like part Triton, which is one of the things that people have suggested. But it no longer makes sense if we know that he drowned. Like if he, so it doesn't make sense for him to be half Triton. But basically I just love that even as they were like cutting that, they were like, hey guys, we have to stop, we have to go forward, we have to think. Ash was still pushing it, and I was like, I fucking love you, Ash. She was like, I just want some background. I want to know his background.
I did like his little life vest armor.
Yeah. So speaking of the underwater creatures, what did they fight?
Yeah. What did they fight? Guys, what? I mean, the way that I don't know D&D creatures super well. I was thinking like they can't be merfolk. He's describing them as like, he described them more as like bigger, bulkier, uglier, more shark-like than like, you know, you would think of like a merfolk or a Triton have legs, and they didn't have legs, they had fins. So it's like merfolk, but evil merfolk. Oh, it is Murrow. Okay, I was gonna say Murrow. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly, but basically, here, I want to show the photo, guys. So basically, here's merfolk. They're all beautiful. Look at this beautiful merfolk. They're so pretty. And then here's, like, the Murrow. They're all like, oh, we're so ugly and monstrous. And so so I guess, like, Ook in chat said that Matt confirmed it was these guys. It was the Murrow. And if you read about them, they are chaotic evil. They come from the abyss. What I took issue with is the fact that it says they're coastal, they're oceanic, they prefer, you know, the deep dark of the ocean. So what the fuck were they doing in a super inland swamp? Because guys, I looked it up. I don't know if I can share. I'll share the picture later. But if you look at the map where they are in Barrowband, it's the center of inland. Like, how did they?
So here's the thing. I mean, they went underneath, and you know, we obviously, this is still to be figured out, but there was another whole underground chamber, and they don't know how far that leads. We already know that there are rivers that flow underwater, so it's very possible that their entire like underground aquatic civilization down there, like a giant lake or underground ocean, something like that. That's definitely a possibility.
I'm on side with Abernathy. That's 100% what I thought. Abernathy said they prefer it, but they were captured and taken to the safe house to trade it, because we have seen that the gentleman's group has been capturing magical people, and we did once again see manacles, we saw cages, we saw all these signs that we've seen for a lot of the other weird magical creatures that shouldn't have been where they were, and I feel like this is another example of like, these monsters should not have been here, what were they doing here? And to me it was very much like these people at the safe house were, maybe they were supposed to be transporting these creatures, then the creatures got out and murdered them all.
There were a lot of them though.
Yeah.
I mean, how many did they fight already, and then saw like a handful more at least?
They killed 3 or 4 so far, and then there was 5 more in the next room. When Ford goes under, Matt says he counts 5 more. But as you said, if that goes on further, if that continues underground and there's more underground networks, entirely possible there's more. Which you're right, it would be hard. Like, how are they transporting these? Like, how are they?
Yeah, or how are they capturing them? Like, that's a big undertaking for. I don't know how many people were in there, but I guess we're still a big question mark on the rest of the safe house, if there is the rest of the safe house.
Mm-hmm. And then bringing back to sort of what you mentioned, well, since you mentioned he went underground and he went to the caverns, that's when we have another connection with his patron, who, you know, shows up in his head to shout at him, learn! And it's like, what do you want? What do you want? What was he supposed to learn? And he has flashbacks of a shipwreck and being stuck underneath it, so it sounds very much like that might be the moment when, like, maybe he had to make that pact with his patron, who sounds dark and scary, and I'm not a super fan of. Very scary. But what do you guys think that his patron was shouting at him to learn?
I don't know. It's hard because everything is always so cryptic. I feel like it's almost might just be Matt as a DM just pushing the player in a direction without a specific reason in mind. Like probably saying like, okay, Matt Ford should probably do this, but I don't know if there was a specific thing that he thought of when he told him that he needs to learn.
Cate, any thoughts?
I don't know if it's trying to push towards uncovering more about the merfolk specifically. The Murrows that were in the cavern.
Or learn more about himself while he's underwater?
Yeah. There's so many question
yeah,
marks.
I know.
With that.
See, that's why I want more Ford's story. Like,
so many.
God damn it. But
Oh, Reddit suggested that he could water breathe and just doesn't realize it.
well, I thought he bought armor that allowed him to water breathe, and because didn't he make the comment? He's like, oh, that would have been useful before, i.e., before he drowned and died and made a pact with his patron.
It keeps you from
Oh, is
drowning.
that what it? Oh, it just like
Because that was the whole life vest thing when he was floating in the puddle.
okay.
Or the little pool.
Okay.
I don't quite remember though.
I thought. So do you think if he had like failed that Constitution save and like had to like try, that Matt would have then revealed to him that he could water breathe?
Maybe.
Because that would be
cool.
really cool.
That'd be really
Yeah,
cool.
that's an interesting point because I mean, if he doesn't know it, then he wouldn't try.
Yeah. Like who would try to drown themselves? Like who?
Right. And back on the topic about what's the other half? You said you remember that he doesn't know. Here he said he assumes it's human. So it could be that Matt's playing around with that and being like, "Hey, you can water breathe."
Surprise! I do think the other half isn't like at this point. I'm like convinced that the other half isn't a water breathing race. I could see his patron giving him the ability to water breathe because I'm convinced that he did in fact drown and die. Once again was because of a few things that have happened and because of him being all like that would have been useful before, and I'm convinced that his patron saved him in that sort of watery abyss type stitch. I'm wondering if his patron, being of the abyss, wants him to try and connect with these characters who are also from the underwater abyss. If he wants him to learn because he thinks they have connected backgrounds to that of his patron, being like maybe they, because I think the story for the Marrow is that they were merfolk and then like a gate to the abyss in the deep dark under part of the ocean opened up and a bunch of them went through and got corrupted into these abyssal dark evil merfolk
by the Demigorgon, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right, by a Demigorgon. Maybe Ford speaks fish. Yes, like maybe he can speak to them. He just doesn't realize it.
I speak
I like this theory.
How are you doing?
Yeah, so that was a bit...
Travis must now cast all of his spells in that voice.
Specifically to do anything connected with his patron, yeah, he has to, he has to do it in fish voice. I like it. By Demigorgon, singular, like Orcus or Vecno... damn it, Stranger Things, says Uncle Luke. So I'm hoping we get more of that next episode, because obviously they ended the episode sort of in that cavern, like on the other side of it, as they were actually debating. They were like, do we go through? Do we just collapse it and walk away? Because technically they've done all they need to do. All they had to do was find and recover the safe house, right? And technically they can give an answer to what it was. So if they wanted to, they could sort of just walk away at this point. I hope they don't.
What did you think about
Ash?
Sorry, what did you think about Ash using the sword?
Yes.
Yeah, well, so before that, I don't think that they should. I don't think that they should fight, because 5 more of them is probably out of their league right now, especially without Cali, and they can't just rest there. So they've got to leave and go into the swamp to rest, and then that's also scary. So I think their only option right now is to leave. That's their best option anyway. But yeah, so the bowl was found by Knot and concealed from Cali, which has mixed reactions from everybody, of course. But it's what Knot would do. We all know that.
Oh, yeah.
but eventually she finds it, and then well, Caleb, I guess, shows her. She doesn't find it, but yeah, we have Yasha actually destroy that, and that was pretty dope. As soon as that happened, I was like, please, please, Ashley, please, Ashley, please, Ashley, and yeah,
Like just watching that little the little light bulb go on in her head, be like, wait, I have this sword that does this thing. Can I do that? It's like, holy crap.
And the way that Matt described, he's like, afterwards you see sort of like static electricity coming out of her hands, and you see her god patron buckle on her belt or something like that, sort of like glow. Do you think that, because all the sword has dispel magic, is what he said, and then do you think that she additionally, to do this, got a blessing from her god? Do you think that was sort of what Matt was trying to hint at, saying like that she had like the thunder and like almost like the thunder and lightning in her hands, and her symbol glowed, or do you think it was just a sword?
I think it was just evidence of her connection with her deity. I don't think that it affected anything in any way, but I think that's part of like the Stormlord's thing, is like when they're not champion in the sense of Vax, but you know, a follower does something kind of like that, like they get that power surge through them, like they feel their connection with their deity that way. And I think it's just a really cool flavor for that.
Yeah, I think it was definitely just more flavor, you know, chalk it up to even, oh, well, when the magic was dispelled, the energy of it had to go somewhere, and it just so happened, you know, hit these spot, whatever. But yeah, I just think it was flavor.
I want her god to be with her. I'm just like...
Oh, yes! And I think he is, but...
Yeah. No, you guys are right.
I think it was just pure sword.
Yeah, I think you guys are probably right. So I mean, that's it. I think pretty much mostly we had... That's sort of the end of it. They successfully destroyed the bowl, which, Cali was happy about. No one had to question anymore what she was up to or whether they agreed or not, because she was very happy that they successfully destroyed it. That's one less out of 6 apparent evil items for her to look for, and them to, I guess, keep their eyes out for now. And yeah, next week we start back at the cave, and like you said, Herc, they get to decide if they should stay and rest or run away, because it's probably a real big fight.
Yeah. And so before Cali leaves, she gives Not a scroll of invisibility, which clearly means Caleb gets another spell as soon as he has the proper materials and money to do it. Which is, it's both really cool and also like kind of lame because of how Caleb treated her in comparison to the rest of everybody else, and the only reward that they get is Caleb gets a new spell, which, let's be fair, like invisibility is something that Caleb can use on anybody, so it's going to be like good for everyone. But at the same time, it almost feels like Caleb's the only one that really got anything out of it, besides like the half elf connection with the, you know, like the personal connection between them. But the funny thing was, like, when she, you know, kind of tried to convince them to come in, she mentioned that like they could have her arcane focus, which is her bracelet, and then Not mentions that at the end. He was like, shouldn't we be getting a bracelet? And she was like, no, I already gave you my scroll. Why didn't she mention the scroll earlier? Like, that's kind of shifty, that she would mention giving her bracelet away, but not, you know, like a scroll or something. I assume that the scroll was meant like kind of as like a failsafe, like if she needs to get away.
That's what I was figuring.
That was like, and even when they mentioned, oh yeah, now you have to go back through this swamp, Mark was jokingly like, give me my scroll back. Which I thought was great. I love when the guests, I forgot the word for guests for a second, end up leaving them something special, like whether it's magical or not, just like a token, and they have something going forward of that person. I really like that. I guess with her, it's just the scroll, which will be used and then disappear, but they also have her adventure to look out for, I guess, and then the fact that there's gonna be letters. I love the idea that they might be pen pals going forward, and every once in a while hopefully we'll get an adorable letter from Cali to the group saying, yo, what's up?
Yeah, because I think he mentioned letters to Jester and Yasha probably because she sees Yasha as being so mighty and important for destroying the bull. So we might get multiple letters.
That's exciting.
Super looking forward to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I am excited for all of that, and I think this is where we'll end it. Thank you, guys. I guess, where can people find you?
You can't find me.
Okay, fair enough. Guys, Herk doesn't exist. Don't even try.
I'm in water deep. Oh, I wish I was.
Since we're playing that game, I'm up in Polar Bear County. That's where I live. That's where you can find me. Otherwise, don't bother. And if you don't know how to wrestle a polar bear, don't even bother coming up here.
Wrestle.
That's it for now. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for chatting. Thanks everyone. Chat. Thanks, and I guess we'll see y'all later. Bye.